What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to talk about another one of those personalised Christmas decks that are being given out to FFG employees. You see, yesterday I showed you an actual Alex Watkins deck, which was given to the head of organised play. And today we're going to be looking at a Josh Massey deck, which is kind of similar, except it's like a billion times better. Like a billion times better. Also, right, just putting this out there, the commentary team at the Vault Tour in Birmingham. Josh, Alex, Wossy. Well, Alex got his own deck. Josh got his own deck. I've not had anything in the post. Now, of course, you could argue that they actually work for FFG and have earned their decks and I haven't, but I am not looking for sensible replies here. So, with all that borne in mind, why is Josh's deck so good and why should Alex be a little bit jealous? Well, if we start off looking at the numbers from decksofkeyforge.com, we see that it is in the top 97% of decks. It's great! It's also a Worlds Collide deck featuring logos, the Saurian Republic and the Grand Star Alliance. But we also know that just looking at the numbers does not tell us the full story of the deck. So let's have a look at the full story of the deck, shall we? Now, there's a couple of things that this deck does really, really well. That's just a few of them. Starting off, one of the most important things we've got here is amber control. Stopping your opponent forging. Remember, in Keyforge, there are two things you want to do. Forge keys, stop your opponent forging a key. Now, this is not a great deck for forging keys. This is not a great deck for rushing for amber. The expected amber is low. We don't have those great cards to go and grab amber. But we have really good amber control. So let's have a look through it, shall we? Starting off, we've got Praefectus Ludo. This is one of those cards from Saurian Republic. 5 power, and each other friendly creature gains destroyed. Move each amber on this creature to the common supply. So if you've captured amber, if you've exalted, the amber goes to the common supply, not back to your opponent. Stops them getting amber. We've got city-state interest that lets each friendly creature capture an amber. See where we're going with this? But then you've captured the amber and Praefectus Ludo goes, now it goes back to the common supply, which means that you haven't really captured it. Your opponent has lost it. That's pretty big. We've also got Tribute here. Gives you an amber bonus and the most powerful friendly creature captures 2 amber. And you may exalt that creature to repeat the process. Now, you've then got 5 amber on the same creature. 2 for the initial capture, plus 1 for the exalting, plus 2 for the second capture. But remember, Praefectus Ludo is going to stop your opponent getting it back. And here's the thing, right? Even if your opponent gets the amber back, they still don't have it next turn to try and forge. They are still going to be very hurt by not having it next turn, and there's a decent chance they actually never get it back at all. That's pretty good. Moving over into logos, we've got Information Exchange. When you play it, you steal an amber, unless, of course, your opponent stole any amber from you last turn, in which case you steal 2. And this comes packaged with Cutthroat Research. Now, this is actually really, really important, because I've never liked Cutthroat Research very much. Gives you an amber bonus, and if your opponent's got 8 or more amber, you steal 2. But if they've got 8 amber and you steal 2, it puts them down to 6. They can still forge a key next turn. Well, now you combo this with Information Exchange, and all of a sudden your opponent is not forging a key. Now, moving over into the Star Alliance, we've got Amber Control in here. And as a side note, when you're looking for a good deck, you want Amber Control in every deck. You've got Garcia's Blaster. When you attach it to Garcia, you steal an amber. Now, whoever it's attached to, when you fight or reap, you can either deal 2 damage to a creature, or move it over to Sensor Chief Garcia, at which point you steal an amber. That's kind of nice. Speaking of, we've got Sensor Chief Garcia. We've actually got 2 of them. And when you play or fight or reap, Keys cost 2 more during your opponent's next turn. Play 2 of them, your opponent's keys cost +4. Next turn you reap with both of them, your opponent's keys cost +4. You don't have to combo them together, but it's going to be kind of fun if you do. We've then also got Psy Officer Kincan, 2-power creature with elusive, and after a player chooses an active house which matches no cards in play, you steal an amber. But that's you or your opponent. If you've got Kincan down but no logos cards, when you go logos, you steal an amber. If your opponent really wants to go shadows but there are no shadows cards on the board, you steal an amber. It's very, very cool. So the amber control is one of the things this deck does really well. But another thing that this deck does really well, it's powerful. It's really powerful. And we're going to go through this properly as we go through in a minute. But we've just got things like 4 Tricerian Legionary. 5 power, 1 armor, and when you play it, you ward a friendly creature. And when you ward a friendly creature, you put a ward counter on them. And then the next time they would be destroyed or damaged or otherwise removed from the field, they're not destroyed, you remove the ward counter. 4 of them? Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous. Over in logos, we got 2 copies of Hapsis. After an enemy creature is destroyed fighting Hapsis, you ward it and draw a card. So the theory here is you try and get it to destroy something weak, you ward it, and then you just keep destroying stuff, lose a ward counter, but then you gain a ward counter and draw a card, and this gets just a little bit silly quite quickly. We've got stuff like Grimlocker's Ducks, 11 power, 2 armor, and it's got Taunt. Okay, you have to exalt it twice, but still, that's pretty gosh darned awesome. The effective power here is pretty much off the charts. And to be fair, it's also quite an efficient deck. You can draw through and do what you want to do quite nicely. So we've got Wild Wormhole that lets you play the top card of your deck. Do remember it is a blind playing, so you need to be a little bit careful. You got stuff like Tortor Vapors that lets you draw 2 cards and archive a card. You've got stuff like Navigator Alley, for instance, that when you play or fight or reap, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck and put them back in any order that you like. We've got Igor that lets you, when you play, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, put 1 in your hand and discard the other. United Action. For the remainder of the turn, you may play cards from any house for which you already have a card in play. Although you cannot use any cards, just play them. But you can potentially play your entire hand out. And the point I'm making here is that there are 3 things this deck does really well. Amber control, efficiency, and power. And when you're stopping your opponent forging a key and getting rid of all of their creatures, and your deck is fast enough and consistent enough to do what you want it to do, yeah, that is a recipe for a very, very good deck indeed. So quickly running through then for each of the houses, what do we see? Well, in logos, we've got the aforementioned Cutthroat Research, Information Exchange, Tortor Vapors, Wild Wormhole. We've then got Quantum Finger Tap, an artifact with an amber bonus that lets you swap the positions of 2 creatures in a battle line. It's not the best card ever. We've got the aforementioned Igor and 2 copies of Hapsis. And we've got Quant here, 3 power, 0 armor, and when you reap, you may play 1 non-logos action card this turn. Oh look, little bit of house cheating. We've got Sanitation Engineer that gives Hazardous 1. Before it's attacked, you deal 1 damage to the creature attacking it. And when you reap, you can discard a card from your hand, which sounds kind of bad, but it means you're drawing an extra card at the end of your turn. Once again, things are going a bit better. We got Titan Guardian, 5 power, 1 armor with Taunt. You cannot attack its neighbors, you have to attack it. And if it's destroyed and it's not on a flank, you draw 2 cards. But your opponent is going to want to try and get it on a flank by destroying one of its neighbors, which it can't because of the Taunt. And there you've got power and you've got efficiency with drawing cards. We've then got Discombobulator. This creature gains your amber cannot be stolen. That sounds kind of useful. Moving into the Saurian Republic, we've got Ancient Power, gives you an amber, and lets you ward each friendly creature with amber on it. Remember, ward is the good one that basically makes you invulnerable for a turn. So any creature that's captured amber or exalted, we've seen a few, we'll see a couple more, can then get a ward counter. That seems ridiculously good. City-state interest, we've had a look at. We've got Phalanx Strike, an action card that lets you choose a creature and deal 1 damage to it for each friendly creature. And you can then exalt, which we've already seen can be good in this deck, to do it again. And you got a lot of creatures in this deck. You got 19 compared to the average of 17. This can deal a lot of damage. Sorry about that, lets you destroy a creature and its controller gains an amber. Either you get rid of one of theirs, or you gain yourself an amber. Tribute, we've had a chat about. Centurion Stenopius, 3 power, 2 armor, and it gets plus 3 power for each amber on it. And when you play or fight or reap, you may exalt it. So when you play it, you exalt it and it goes to 6 power, 2 armor, and then it just gets bigger and badder from there. That sounds pretty good. And then we've got Grimlocker's Ducks, we've already mentioned. You exalt it twice when you play it. Can be awkward, we've got ways around it, because Prefectus Ludo stops them actually taking your amber, and then Ancient Power actually works really nicely for any creature with amber on, so that's kind of cool. And then we've got the 4 copies of Tricerian Legionary, and that's a lot of beef in one deck. Moving into the Grand Star Alliance, we've got United Action we've had a chat about. We can all win. Each player's keys cost -2 amber until the end of your next turn. And sure, that can help your opponent, but you play this at a time when it will help you, not them. There we go. Done. Explo Rover is a 3 power 0 armor creature with skirmish, or you can play it as an upgrade onto a creature to give them skirmish. Bearing in mind you've got these super powerful creatures like Grimlocker's Ducks and potentially Centurion Stenopius. Yeah, that's going to be something you're going to want to do. Lieutenant Kaka is a 5 power 0 armor creature with taunt. You can't attack its neighbors. And hazardous free. You take free damage when you try and attack it. Yeah, that's going to be kind of annoying to get rid of. Navigator Rally we've talked about, as well as Kincan and our 2 copies of Garcia. And don't forget we've got our copy of Garcia's Blaster. We've then got Stunner, an upgrade with an amber bonus, and the creature gains when you fight or reap. Stun a creature. Cool. And then 2 copies of Universal Translator. It's an upgrade that gives a creature fight or reap. Use a friendly non-Star Alliance creature. Also another 2 cards that let you house cheat. Yeah, this is a phenomenal deck. This is a really good deck. It is not great at rushing for amber. You're not going to win quick games with this very often. But you've got a fast, consistent deck that stops your opponent forging keys while also building up a board state which is really difficult to take care of. This is going to be a deck that wins a lot of games. I suppose congrats, Josh, are in order. So while I sit here waiting to see if I get one of these lovely decks in the post, I'd like you to tell me what you think about this deck and how jealous you are that Josh got this deck and we all didn't. So go nuts in the comment section, but please do remember the rule. Be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wossy, where we talk Keyforge and a whole bunch of other games, and please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun stuff. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.